The Northwood Ghetto was not just a neighborhood for Marcus, it was an entire world. A world woven from the sounds of hip-hop drifting from open windows, the smell of fried chicken from the corner diner, and the unsettling wail of police sirens, which was as common as birdsong. Here, among the dilapidated brick houses and basketball courts, grew Marcus Green, a tall, dark-skinned young man with perceptive eyes that always held a spark of curiosity. His mother, Evelyn, worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. She was his beacon, a strong, wise woman who taught him not only to survive but also to dream. "Marcus, your mind is your shield and your sword," she often said, stroking his head. "Use it to carve out your own path. Don't let them define you." By them, she meant the invisible yet palpable force that sought to keep them, Black people, down. Marcus received his first lessons in racism as a child. He was about 8 years old when he went into the local store to buy milk for his mother. The cashier, an elderly white man with a gray mustache, watched him intently as Marcus walked along the aisles. Marcus felt his cheeks burn with shame, even though he hadn't stolen anything. When he approached the counter, the cashier ostentatiously set aside his coffee and ran the milk carton through the scanner without even looking at him. "Everything all right, boy?" "Didn't grab anything extra," he mumbled, and Marcus, clutching the change in his hand, ran out of the store, feeling dirty and invisible at the same time. School wasn't much better. Marcus was bright, a quick learner. His math teacher, Miss Jenkins, once told his mother Marcus is very capable, Mrs. Green. He could go to college if only he applied himself. Evelyn nodded politely, but Marcus saw the same sadness in her eyes as in his own. If only he applied himself, a phrase they heard too often, implying that their failures were a result of laziness, not systemic barriers. His best friend, Jamal, was Marcus's complete opposite. Jamal was the life of the party, charismatic and impulsive. They played basketball on the street together, shared secrets and dreams. But Jamal saw the world differently. "Why bother, Marcus?" he'd say, squinting. "To them, we'll always just be black guys from the street. It doesn't matter how many books you read." Jamal started spending more time with guys from local gangs, and Marcus felt their paths diverging. The turning point came when Marcus was 16. He and Jamal were walking back from the basketball court, laughing and discussing the game. Suddenly, a police car sped past, braked sharply, and blocked their way. 2 white officers jumped out of the car. "Hey, you too! Hands on the hood!" one of them yelled. Marcus and Jamal obeyed. They were frisked, roughly pushed, and questioned, "What are you doing here? Where are you coming from? Got any weapons?" "Drugs. We were just playing basketball, officer," Marcus tried to explain. "Shut up! Don't tell me what you're doing," the officer snapped, his hand tightly gripping his baton. When they were finally released, Marcus felt cold sweat trickling down his back. He looked at Jamal, whose face was distorted with rage and humiliation. "See, Marcus?" Jamal whispered. "I told you. This is our life. They'll always see us as a threat, not as people." That day, Marcus understood that his mother's words were prophetic. He needed a shield, and he decided that shield would be the law. He would be a lawyer. He would fight for people like himself and Jamal. Marcus enrolled in the State University, a prestigious institution located on the other side of the city, in a neighborhood that seemed like a completely different world. Clean streets, manicured lawns, students, many of whom were white and seemed to have never known what it was like to lack money or fear the police. The first few months were a culture shock. He was one of the few black students in his cohort. Some professors seemed to look at him with a certain condescension. "You're doing very well, Marcus, for a student from your neighborhood," a literature professor once said, as if Northwood was synonymous with intellectual disability. Microaggressions were constant. "Well, Marcus, you're so articulate." He often heard from white classmates who seemed genuinely surprised by his ability to speak without slang. Or, "You probably got in on a quota, right?" One guy quipped at a party when Marcus mentioned his scholarship. He learned to smile and nod, but each such remark left a small scar. One day, there was a party on campus. Marcus was talking to a group of students when a white girl approached him. "Excuse me, could you get some more drinks?" "The bar is over there," she said, pointing towards the drink table. Marcus was dressed just like everyone else, but she automatically assumed he was staff. He politely explained that he was a student and walked away, feeling invisible and misunderstood. However, the university gave him not only challenges, but also opportunities. He met Professor Davis, an elderly African-American law professor who became his mentor. Professor Davis saw in Marcus not just a talented student, but a future leader. "Marcus, this path will be difficult," Davis said one day, sipping coffee in his book-filled office. "The system isn't built for us, but that's why we must infiltrate it, to change it from within." He told Marcus about Jim Crow, about the civil rights struggle, about how racism had mutated, becoming less overt but no less destructive. "It's like air, Marcus," Davis explained. "You don't see it, but it's everywhere. And sometimes it chokes you." A call from his mother one evening left Marcus numb. Jamal. He had been arrested, accused of possession of drugs with intent to distribute. Marcus rushed to Northwood. Jamal sat in the cell, his eyes blank. "They planted it, Marcus," he whispered. "I was just standing on the corner. They said I was suspicious." Marcus felt rage rising within him. It was the same fear he had felt as a child, only now it was manifest in the form of injustice. He tried to help Jamal, but his university knowledge was powerless against the ruthless machinery of justice. Jamal was given 5 years. This incident solidified Marcus's resolve. He didn't just want to be a lawyer, he wanted to be a lawyer who broke down walls, not just knocked on them. After graduating from university with honors, Marcus enrolled in one of the country's top law schools. He was again in the minority, but now he was ready. He learned to cope with prejudice, using it as fuel for his ambition. He was top of his class, his analytical skills were phenomenal. His first job was at a large corporate firm on Wall Street. High salaries, luxurious offices, but Marcus felt out of place. He spent his days working on mergers and acquisitions while his soul burned with a desire to fight for justice. He saw his white colleagues, perhaps less gifted, receive more lucrative projects and advance faster in their careers, not because they were better, but because they fit in. After 2 years, he resigned, to the surprise of many. He went to work for a nonprofit organization dedicated to civil rights and helping low-income individuals in Northwood. His mother was proud of him. His first major case was that of Michael Brown, name changed, a young black man accused of assaulting a white police officer. Marcus knew Michael. He was a quiet, shy teenager, never in trouble with the law. The police version: Michael resisted arrest, tried to grab the officer's gun. Michael's version: he was just walking home when he was stopped without reason. The officer was aggressive, pushed him, and Michael, frightened, tried to run away. The case was complex. Public opinion was on the side of the police. Local news portrayed Michael as a dangerous criminal. In court, Marcus faced not only the prosecutor but also deeply ingrained prejudices. The jury, mostly white, looked at Michael with suspicion. "Your client is a typical product of his neighborhood, aggressive, prone to violence," the prosecutor declared in his closing statement, effectively accusing Michael not of a specific crime, but of who he was. Marcus felt the blood rush to his face. He stood, his voice calm but full of power. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, "the prosecutor wants you to see Michael Brown not as a person, but as a stereotype. He wants you to see him as a threat because it's convenient, because it's easier not to see injustice. Michael Brown is not a typical product. He is Michael. He is someone's son, someone's brother, someone's neighbor. And today he is here because a system that should protect everyone too often sees people of his skin color not as an innocent victim, but as a potential criminal." He continued, speaking of racial profiling, of the fear every black person feels when encountering the police, of how easily the label suspicious turns into guilty. He presented statistics, witness testimonies, and surveillance camera footage that contradicted the officer's version. The verdict was mixed. Michael was acquitted of assault, but found guilty of resisting arrest. Not a complete victory, but not a defeat either. It was an echo of reality. The system doesn't crumble from one blow, but a breach can be made in it. Michael Brown's case became a turning point in Marcus's career. He became known as a lawyer who was not afraid to take on complex, politically charged cases. He fought for fair housing, for equal opportunities in education, for criminal justice reform. He often returned to Northwood, speaking to young people, telling them his story. "Don't let them box you in," he would say. "Your background is not a sentence, but a part of your strength. Use your voice, your mind, to change the world." Racism, as he understood it, was not only in loud words of hatred or cruelty. It was in the invisible walls built around people, in biased glances, in closed doors, in undervalued talents. It was in the fatigue one feels constantly proving their worth. But Marcus also saw the light. He saw it in the eyes of young people who listened to him with hope. He saw it in his colleagues, black and white, who fought alongside him for justice. He saw it in his mother, who, despite all difficulties, always believed in him. Jamal was released from prison. He was broken, but not entirely. Marcus helped him find a job, supported him. Their friendship, which had been through thick and thin, became a symbol of his own struggle. One day, speaking at a civil rights conference, Marcus concluded his speech with these words: "We cannot change the past, but we can shape the future. We cannot make people love us, but we can demand justice." Racism is a disease that has corroded our country for decades. But we have a cure: it's education, empathy, and the tireless fight for equality. It's a long journey, but every step, every voice, every action brings us closer to the day when the color of one's skin will no longer be a sentence, but merely part of the rich tapestry of humanity. When Marcus stepped down from the stage, the hall erupted in applause. He looked at the faces of the people of different races, ages, and backgrounds. And in their eyes, he saw not only recognition, but also hope. Hope that the shadows of the past would dissipate and the light of justice would illuminate America. And Marcus knew that his struggle, the struggle of his ancestors, and the struggle of future generations was not in vain. This was just the beginning.